November 3rd, 1944, 10,000 feet above Freiburg, Germany. The sky was perfect, too perfect. Not a cloud in sight. Just blue, endless blue, and the arrogance of three German aces who believed they owned it. Oberleutnant Karl Weiss, Knight's Cross, 82 confirmed kills, leveled his Messerschmitt's nose and smirked. The Americans are loud, sloppy, predictable. His wingmen laughed over the radio. We'll take them before they know what hit them. But something hit them first. A P-51 Mustang came in from the sun, low, inverted, and so far off formation it had to be a mistake. Only it wasn't. The first tracer struck Weiss's canopy like a spark to dry grass. He had no idea yet. He was about to be outflown by a man who broke every rule. 7 hours earlier, Luftwaffe Operations Briefing Room, Jagdgeschwader 3, Udet, Ravensburg Airfield. The door slammed open. Boots clicked against cold stone. Maps flapped in the draft. Coffee steamed on chipped porcelain mugs, untouched. Inside, 3 men stood shoulder to shoulder beneath a massive wall chart of Allied air traffic. Each had the bearing of a predator. Leather flight jackets, tunic buttons polished like coins, eyes sharp as razors. Oberleutnant Karl Weiss, Hauptmann Dieter Klaus, Feldwebel Otto Brenner, 82 kills, 69, 51. Together they were known as the Triad, legends of the Reich, untouchable, untamed, and they were angry. This Mustang pilot, Klaus spat the word like a curse, he hunts alone, no wingman, no radio chatter, nothing. He dives out of the sun, fires one burst, then disappears, Brenner added, as if the laws of lift and drag do not apply. Weiss rolled his eyes. Then perhaps he's American Jesus, yeah? Laughter echoed, but it was brittle, forced. Behind them, a junior intelligence officer flicked on a projector. A flickering film reel clacked to life, revealing gun camera footage, blurred black and white chaos. A Mustang banking at a jarring angle, a split-second burst. Then a Messerschmitt spiraling out of control. Not 1, 3. Shot down in 48 hours. All elite pilots. Weiss leaned forward, squinting. Pause it there. The technician froze the frame. It showed the P-51 in mid-maneuver, belly toward the sun, wings torqued, angle so steep it defied everything in the Luftwaffe flight manual. That, Weiss muttered, is not legal. Klaus shook his head. It's not even possible. But it was, because the pilot in question didn't play by doctrine. He didn't quote Dicta Bolka. He came from a different world, 5,000 miles away, Ramona Airfield, California, 1939. A biplane spiraled through blue sky. Below it, crowds cheered and waved American flags. On the wing, strapped by rope and defiance, stood a young man grinning like sin itself, arms out like he could fly without the plane. His name was Roy Camden, but everyone just called him Boomer. He didn't graduate flight school. He survived it. Too reckless, they said. Too loose. He looped P-40s under bridges for whiskey bets. Once flew backwards in a dust storm, just to prove he could. He never read a single tactical manual, but he could read the sky like scripture. When war came, he didn't enlist to follow orders. He came to outfly the enemy. Back in Germany, Ravensburg Airfield. Weiss stood beneath his Focke-Wulf 190, stroking the cold steel like a lover. He'll be up today, he said. I can feel it. A mechanic handed him his oxygen mask. Another fitted his gloves. 3 kills, Weiss said to no one in particular. He needs 3 to be an ace. Then looking up at the sun, let's make sure he never gets them. As the propellers roared to life, none of them knew. Boomer already had their names scribbled in grease pencil on his dash, not out of hatred, but to test what happens when the rule book burns. 10:21 a.m. Over Lake Constance, German-Swiss border. Thin clouds swirled below like ghost trails. The radio waves crackled with static and half-sentences. From 15,000 feet, Luftwaffe flight leader Klaus adjusted his trim tab, watching the vapor trails of his squad's tight V formation shimmer in the sun. Everything looked clean, textbook, predictable, too predictable. "Brenner, flank west," he barked. "We'll box the valley and flush him if he's near." No reply. "Brenner, report in." Silence, then static. Then, "He's under me. Christ, he's under—" The radio shrieked. A burst of sound like tearing metal. Then nothing. Klaus's blood ran cold. He yanked left and dove, eyes scanning the white glare below. All he saw was smoke, a thin curl rising from a treetop. No parachute, no Brenner. He didn't even see the shot. "Camden," he hissed, "the cowboy." 8,000 feet below, in the Mustang. Boomer Camden flew one-handed, his other resting on a photograph taped near the throttle. A diner waitress in Oklahoma. Black and white. Lipstick perfect. The back read, "Come home, Boomer. Not just pieces of you." His Mustang purred. Engines low. Prop feathered just enough to avoid drag. No formation. No wingman. He'd slipped behind Brenner using cloud reflection and sun angle. A trick he learned as a teenager, racing crop dusters over orchards. The Luftwaffe thought in geometry. He thought in gut and gravity. 1 shell, 1 second. He didn't celebrate, just whispered, "1." Back at Luftwaffe base, technical command room, the radar operator looked pale. "Sir, I don't understand. He's appearing in blind spots." "What do you mean, blind spots?" asked the Luftwaffe major. "Between sweeps. He rides just below our detection ceiling, then climbs hard, strikes, and vanishes." The officer shook his head. "That's suicide." "No," the radar tech said, eyes wide. "It's working." In the air, Klaus and Weiss split the sky like hawks. Every cloud became a coffin, every glint a possible kill. But the real fear wasn't what they saw. It was what they couldn't. Somewhere up there, a Mustang was watching them, and not from above, from behind. Weiss muttered to himself, "This isn't how war works. This isn't how we trained." Then he checked his 6, and for a single heartbeat, he thought he saw something flicker in the sunlight. 10:26 a.m. Somewhere near the Black Forest, the Mustang slid sideways through the sky like it had no respect for gravity. Boomer Camden gritted his teeth, forcing the stick into a sideways slip while counting. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. His P-51 banked into the blind spot of a circling Focke-Wulf 190. No buzz, no growl. Just silent death carried by a man raised under wheat-field skies and barnstormer wind. He was close enough now to see the red triangle on the enemy's tail fin. Klaus. Boomer's thumb hovered over the trigger. But he didn't fire. Not yet. Flashback. Ramona Airfield, California, 1939. The crowd gasped as Boomer flipped his Curtiss biplane under the county water tower. Dust clouded his wheels, cows scattered, and one old man muttered, "That boy's gonna kill himself before Hitler gets the chance." Boomer wasn't military. He was a circus act with a pilot's license. He flew like a dancer with a death wish. When he joined the Army Air Forces, instructors didn't know what to do with him. Uncontrollable, undisciplined, ungodly accurate. They gave him a plane and told him to shut up and kill Nazis. So he did, his own way. 10:27 a.m. Back in the sky, Boomer fired once. A 3-round burst. Tap. Not enough to kill, just enough to be noticed. The 190 flinched, turned, bit the bait. Weiss cursed over the radio. "Klaus, get altitude." But Klaus dove instead. Straight into Boomer's net. The P-51 turned harder than should have been possible. Boomer yanked the flaps into a half-deflection stall, then feathered throttle and threw the Mustang into a rolling scissors. The German pilot followed until his wings couldn't keep up. Boom. Second burst. Klaus's engine exploded in a flower of fire. The canopy popped. A figure ejected. 1 chute. 2 aces down. German Air Command, listening station. A general whispered, "This is not a pilot. This is a ghost." But ghosts didn't use unapproved tactics. They didn't fly without formation, without radio, without orders. Boomer Camden wasn't a ghost. He was the future, and they didn't have a name for it yet. 10:32 a.m. Weiss flies alone. He banks into a cloud band, heart pounding. This isn't how it's supposed to be. He trained under the iron doctrine of the Luftwaffe: 6 angles of attack, strict energy retention, always fly with your wingman. But now Klaus is gone. Brenner is gone. And the Mustang? He could be anywhere. Weiss grips the stick tighter. Then, in the radio's static, he hears something. Jazz. American jazz. Coming from somewhere it shouldn't. 10:34 a.m. Above a break in the clouds, Oberleutnant Karl Weiss burst through the mist and into sunlight. Alone now, heart thrumming, every nerve drawn tight as wire. He checked his 6 again. Nothing, only blue sky. He leveled off, breathing hard into his oxygen mask. And then, shadows. His eyes caught it, not in front, not above, below. A flash of silver curled under his fuselage, an impossible maneuver. The Mustang had looped underneath his blind arc, inverted, climbing into his undercarriage from an angle never taught in any German flight school. Gott im Himmel! Weiss yanked the stick. Too late. Tracer rounds punched through his right wingtip. One shattered the canopy. The sudden wind howled through the cockpit, tearing maps from their clips. No kill yet. But Boomer was toying with him. He didn't want a fast victory. He wanted the message delivered. In Boomer's Mustang. He eased off the throttle, watched the 190 twist, struggle, gasp for lift. He wasn't hunting anymore. He was teaching. He keyed the mic, his mic, not the Luftwaffe's, held it down, broadcasted something they wouldn't understand. A vinyl recording. Glenn Miller's Moonlight Serenade. Let it play into the German frequency. Let them hear the saxophones, the swing, the slow roll of a civilization not built on conquest, but rhythm. In Weiss's cockpit. He heard it. Music. American music. He stared at the broken dial, stunned. His hands trembled. Not from injury, from the surreal absurdity of it all. His comrades were dead. His engine coughed oil. And somewhere nearby, the man who had outflown them all was serenading him with a love song. This wasn't war. This was humiliation set to jazz. He whispered through his mask, "He's not a pilot. He's an insult." And in that moment, the belief cracked, not in his plane, not in his skills, but in everything he'd been told. 10:37 a.m., 12,000 feet and falling. Weiss's instruments screamed. His oil pressure dropped. Hydraulics sluggish. Vision blurring. He leveled out just long enough to glimpse the Mustang circling above like a hawk over dying prey. But Boomer didn't shoot. Instead, he flew parallel. Close enough for Weiss to see his face through the cockpit glass. No mask, no fear. Just a crooked grin. Boomer raised one gloved hand, 2 fingers, not a salute, a peace sign. Weiss almost laughed. Almost. Instead, he pulled into a slow, desperate bank, trying to gain distance. He needed altitude. He needed rules. He needed the sky to start making sense again. But it didn't. Boomer stayed with him, mirroring his movements like a ghost of improvisation. Weiss pulled hard left. Boomer slipped under. He climbed right. Boomer dropped back, then surged forward like wind itself, every tactic drilled into Weiss's soul since cadet school fell apart. His opponent wasn't flying for angles. He was flying like a dancer or a madman, and it worked. Down at Luftwaffe Forward Control HQ, an engineer stared at the playback of the Dogfight film, frame by frame. No stall warning, no overcorrect. Another technician blinked. This guy, he's turning inside a Messerschmitt. But that's not aerodynamically Then why are our aces falling from the sky? The room went quiet. 10:39 a.m., Weiss's final maneuver. With one final heave, he dropped altitude, hoping the cloud deck would mask him. Boomer let him go, didn't fire, didn't follow. Instead, he banked away, nose rising into a lazy arc, a cowboy ride into the heavens. Weiss panted. He had escaped, but it didn't feel like survival. It felt like mercy. He leveled out, stared at the cracked glass, at his own reflection. And behind his eyes, something broke. It wasn't just that they'd been outflown. It was that the enemy didn't fight like a soldier. He fought like a free man. Back in the Mustang, Boomer Camden lights a lucky strike. He doesn't gloat. He doesn't radio base. He just exhales into the cockpit, the smoke curling past the bullet holes in the canopy. He reaches for the photo of the girl taped near the stick. "Two down," he whispers. His eyes scan the sky for the third, and high above the clouds, the sun begins to glint off another enemy wingtip. 10:42 a.m. Weiss's Focke-Wulf limps south, low on fuel, lower on pride. The forest stretches below like a funeral shroud. His oxygen tank hisses. His altimeter spins. But inside the cockpit, the real damage isn't mechanical. It's ideological. Everything he believed, training, tactics, national superiority, has just been dismantled in 6 minutes by a man who flew sideways and smiled doing it. The jazz still echoes in his helmet. Moonlight serenade, not a march, not an anthem, just swing, lazy, defiant, joyful. Everything he was taught to mock. Flashback, Weiss as a boy, Leipzig, 1934. A family outing. His father, an officer, gripped his shoulder as a Luftwaffe trainer buzzed low over the river. "Discipline," his father said. "That's what makes the sky obey." Little Weiss had stared upward, wide-eyed, but a part of him wondered what it would feel like to fly without permission, to play in the clouds. That part was buried for years, until now. Back in the sky, Weiss sees something glint above. Another 190, approaching fast. It's Hauptmann Richter, another veteran ace, radioing commands. "Do not engage alone. Form on my wing." Weiss hesitates. He looks toward where the Mustang vanished, then down at the throttle, at the photo still clipped near his altimeter. A photo he took from a downed American pilot months ago. A woman, smiling, holding a Coca-Cola bottle. Weiss used to laugh at it. Now he's not so sure. He thumbs the radio, but doesn't respond. Instead, he veers west, away from the formation, away from orders. For the first time in his life, he disobeys. In his headset, Richter barks, "Where are you going?" But Weiss is already gone, vanishing into cloud, chased not by enemy fire, but by doubt. 10:45 a.m., 17,000 feet, and climbing fast. Boomer Camden tightens his harness. Sweat beads on his temple, freezes instantly. The Mustang groans, not in protest, but in anticipation. Ahead of him, Richter. Veteran ace, dozens of kills, and by the book to his bones. Boomer recognizes the flight style instantly. Clean arcs, textbook barrel rolls, energy retention maxed, every move predictable. Too predictable. He flips his Mustang into a vertical climb, then cuts throttle hard. The engine chokes. The plane stalls. For a heartbeat, it hangs in the air like a coin tossed skyward. Then, it falls. Tail first, nose down, inverted. Boomer catches Richter's undercarriage in his sights. A maneuver banned by Allied training manuals. Too unstable, too risky. But Boomer's never been in love with rules. He squeezes the trigger. Rat-a-tat-tat. 650 caliber slugs tear upward into the belly of the Focke-Wulf. Fuel ignites. Smoke blooms. Boomer rolls left, kicks the rudder, and watches as Richter's aircraft shudders, then tips forward. Richter's final moments. He pulls, tries to level, but the fire's already in the cockpit. He slams his fist into the console, not out of fear, out of disbelief. This is not war, he mutters. This is sabotage. Then, impact. The forest takes him. Boomer doesn't look back. German radar post, Friedrichshafen. One officer lowers his binoculars. There were 3 of them. Now, none. The silence is heavy. Another mutters, he took them all. One pilot, one plane. And from the recording room, a technician turns off the reel of swing music that had been crackling into Luftwaffe comms. He doesn't speak, just stares at the empty sky. In the Mustang, Boomer exhales. The smoke from his Lucky Strike mixes with engine vapor. His thumb lifts from the trigger. 3 aces. No orders. No confirmation. Just instinct and something deeper, a quiet promise. He looks at the photo taped near the throttle. The diner waitress, still smiling. He taps it once like a holy relic and whispers, "Coming home soon, darlin'. A little more sky left." Later that afternoon, 5th Air Force Briefing Room, Italy. The room is dim, noisy with typewriters and boots. Boomer sits alone near the edge, legs kicked up on a dented ammo crate, helmet resting on one knee. An officer walks by, slaps a folder on the table. 3 confirmed kills, all veterans. Berlin is gonna scream. Boomer doesn't flinch, doesn't smile, just lights another cigarette. Same brand the Germans had laughed at in captured rations, Lucky Strike. The match flares. Smoke curls. He inhales once, exhales slow. Not victory, just exhaustion. Across the room, a younger pilot leans in. "You flew solo against 3 JG aces?" Boomer shrugs. "Didn't seem fair." "To them or you?" Boomer grins just slightly. "To physics." Meanwhile, Luftwaffe Intelligence Center, Berlin. Reels of gun camera footage spin on a metal spool. A projector hums. A crowd of officers watches the final moments frame by frame. Boomer's Mustang dancing around Weiss. The inverted kill on Richter. And the song. One major whispers, "That's not doctrine, that's theater." A colonel adds, "No, that's freedom." No one laughs. No one speaks. In the corner, a propaganda officer silently tears up a draft for tomorrow's broadcast. There's no way to spin this. Not when their best were outflown by a man with jazz in his cockpit and swing in his soul. Back in Boomer's Mustang. Sunset, cruising south. The cockpit vibrates steady. Far below, the Italian coast glows gold. He reaches for the radio, clicks to a private channel, doesn't speak, just lets the music play. Glenn Miller again. Moonlight Serenade. Same as before. But now, it's not defiance, it's closure. November 5th, 1944. Luftwaffe Archive Center, Munich. Oberleutnant Karl Weiss sits in a silent room, headphones pressed tight against his ears. The room is bare. One desk, one reel-to-reel machine playing back cockpit audio. Again, for the 5th time that morning. The tape warbles slightly, crackle. Then, Moonlight Serenade. Soft, lazy, American. Weiss doesn't flinch. He just closes his eyes. The music plays. In the background, distant engine noise. Then gunfire. Then silence. He leans forward, pausing the reel at a specific moment. Boomer's voice, faint, half laughing. 2 down. 1 more to go. Weiss rewinds it, plays it again. Not because he's angry, because he's trying to understand. A major enters, holding a clipboard. Interrogators want your report. Weiss doesn't look up. They'll say he cheated, he mutters. The major shrugs. Didn't follow protocol. Used unpredictable maneuvers. Broke the chain of engagement. Weiss exhales. No, he didn't cheat. He turned slowly. He just wasn't fighting the same war we were. Cut 2. American Air Base, Naples, celebration dinner. Boomer sits at a fold-out table surrounded by pilots, laughing, toasting. He says nothing, just nods, sips Coke from a steel cup. His flight log rests open beside his plate. 3 names scrawled in pencil. Klaus Brenner Richter. No exclamation points, no tally marks. Just names, reminders. He closes the book. The toast ends. He walks outside. Outside the tent, nightfall. The sky above Italy is velvet black, scattered with stars. Boomer stares up. No Mustang, no cloud, no war, just silence. He pulls out the photo again. That waitress from Oklahoma. Her curls. That smile. He whispers, "Didn't do it for medals, sweetheart." A pause. "Did it 'cause someone had to remind him." He flicks away the cigarette, watches the ember fade. This sky doesn't belong to orders. Final flashback. Weiss, Berlin, post-war. Older, quiet, civilian clothes. He walks past a corner cafe. Stops. Inside, through the glass, a jukebox plays. Jazz. He doesn't enter, just listens. Then turns and walks away. And as he goes, his lips move, mouthing the title. Moonlight Serenade. Present day, National WWII. Aviation Museum, Alabama. A crowd shuffles through a glass hall. Children point, veterans nod quietly. A tour guide explains the layout of a P-51 Mustang mounted on display. Polished aluminum, pin-up nose art, and kill markings beneath the canopy. A plaque reads, Captain Roy Boomer Camden, 352nd Fighter Group. 12 confirmed kills. 3 aces shot down in 1 engagement. Beneath that, a quote etched in brass. Sometimes rules don't make you free. Sometimes you break them to remember what freedom feels like. ERC Camden, 1945. A man in his 60s lingers behind the crowd, hat pulled low, weathered hands. He runs his fingers along the wing's edge, tracing the rivets. Doesn't speak, just stares. And then softly, "I was 10 when I heard about him. My uncle flew recon. Said Boomer changed the whole air game." His grandson tugs his sleeve. "Grandpa, was he real?" The old man smiles faintly. "Oh yeah, he was real." Cut to black and white footage. Boomer climbing into the Mustang. Crew chief slapping the fuselage. Propellers spinning to life. Jazz on a field radio. Voiceover. Boomer. Archive recording. You can fly by the book, or you can fly by feel. And if you're lucky, just once, you'll get to show the world what happens when you do both. Final scene, somewhere over Europe, 1944. The Mustang climbs toward the sun, alone. Not chasing, not fleeing, just flying. Free, fade to black. Text on screen, Over 12,000 P-51 Mustangs were built during World War II. Only a few were flown like this. Captain Roy Camden returned home in 1945. He never flew combat again. He opened a flying school in Oklahoma. And every student learned one maneuver not found in any manual. Final question to the audience. Voiceover. What would you have done if you were him?